I don't like the word study because study is meaningless. To some people, study means read. To some people, that means write it down. They wrote it down in class, they're done, they studied. They go home, they read the textbook, they wrote it down, they studied. To some people, it means index cards. To some people, it means groups, quizzing each other. To some people, it means tell mom I am reading when I am actually texting my friends. Mom peeks her head in the door, your bedroom. Are you studying? Yes, Mom. You're texting your pals, right? So studying means a lot of different things. I talk to parents every year, and parents are like, my kid is in her room 6 hours. She doesn't do chores. She's working hard, and she still got an F. What do you think's happening? What's happening? She's probably not efficiently studying. The key is efficiency. You can't waste time. If you're wasting time, then it's going to be impossible to do everything you need to do. Does that make sense? You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to get stressed out. You're going to feel like, I know, I can tell you how I felt when I was young. I felt stupid. I felt overwhelmed. Like, why can't I get this? Right? And the reality is that we have lost the meaning of this word study. The meaning is lost. And it means a different thing to every different people. Some of them are very useful. Like, some of these are good techniques. Index cards are a good technique. Quizzing each other is a good technique. Writing it down is a good technique. But if you want to get a good grade, a really strong A, then really you got to do those techniques and more. So study really is a meaningless word in our society, and what we really need to do is get to defining it a little better. So the first thing we need to do is, and this is number one, is record. We need to record the information. You should be recording it now. When I look around the room and I see only probably 2/3 of this class writing it down, I'm concerned. Should have 100% of the kids writing it down. So I'm going to try to take attendance again, trying to learn your name, and I'm trying to learn your names and take attendance and encourage those of you that are doing the right thing. I can say things like, Alka is on task. She's writing things down. She's paying attention. Bolden, where are you? You here? Absent. Brown is here. She's on task, paying attention. Raven, I see you there. Are you writing stuff down? Yeah, it looks like she's writing stuff down. I can't see what she's writing, but I can't do 3 things at once, so I'll go ahead and accept it on faith. Drake, are you here? Oh, yep. Okay. She seems. Some people seem real tired. Are you guys tired? Do you guys have power at home? Who doesn't have power at home still? I know. I drove through the parts of the city that didn't have power. My wife and I were lucky. We never lost power. Dr. Adams still doesn't have power, and we drove through. You drive through the city, still places don't have power.
Mr. Cooper said they're not going to get power until Friday.
Yeah, so in Parma, the tornadoes touched down in Parma, so those guys don't want. My sister-in-law doesn't have any power, which means no hot water, no electricity, no air conditioning. The refrigerator, all the stuff in the refrigerator is gone. They have to throw it away. So they're not getting power back till Friday.
Everybody bought the ice.
Hmm?
My dad's store, everybody bought the ice. They just filled it up yesterday. And at the end of the day, all the ice, it was gone.
What, it melted or somebody bought it?
Everybody bought it. Like, they bought 5-6 packs.
Yeah, people are buying ice to fill the refrigerator because it's the only way to keep their food cold. It's a nightmare. So if you don't have power, I'm sorry. I'm hoping you guys are getting enough sleep because you guys look a little tired. But I think it's important we go through how to do this right since tomorrow's your first quiz. What do you think? You look so exhausted. What's wrong? You having a bad day? You okay? All right. So let's go ahead and go down the list here. Let me quickly take attendance so I don't have to worry about it. Bennett, are you here? Thank you. Ali's here, right? No, Ali. Okay. Drake, I think I already checked. Drake is here. Dunlap, thank you. She's on task, obviously. Foster, thank you, always on task. Simtree, right? No, I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. I'll figure it out. Leah, thank you, Leah. Miss Green, thank you, Hayden. Rosanna, thank you, Rosanna. Did I say it right? King, thank you. Ivan, it's usually the boys I learn first because there's usually like 2 or 3 boys and the rest girls. I don't know how that happens, but Frank, I have we have to talk, so don't leave without us talking. Pritchett, he's not in trouble, relax. Pritchett, huh? All right, thank you. Stewart, thank you. Tron is not coming, I'm sure. Whitner, thank you. Whitsett, thank you. And Wilson. Wilson? Not here. Actually, we're all here on time. This class is really good. I think you guys deserve something for this. Being here on time, awake even though you're not feeling it. That's a good deal. Huh? All right. So recording is the first thing you have to do. And when we look at Cornell notes, the way we're doing notes, so you have notes here. The way we're doing notes is we're taking the page and we're dividing it in. Remember, we have the top here. We have our name, our date, and the period. That's important for several reasons. Number one, if the page gets out of your notebook, I have I have a stack of papers. This is, what day is this?
Thursday.
It's Thursday. How many days have we been in school? 4. Been in school 4 days, and I have a stack of papers from 9th graders. Some of them have no names, some have names, no periods, some have period, name, no date. And you lost them. They fell out of your notebook. Kids have left their pencil pouches, their book bags, their notebooks, their makeup pouches, their purses, their hair clips. I have a whole pile of stuff kids are leaving. So stuff gets left behind. So it's really important you write this stuff, label your paper. It really sucks to spend time. Look, it's hard to get up in the morning, right? Yeah? It's hard to get here in the rain, and when it's snowing, it's going to be hard to get here in the snow. We get up early, we come here, we set up for class, we got our pens out, our paper. It's hard to motivate ourselves, and then we take notes. So you go through all that trouble, and then you throw it away? Why would you do that? Like put it in the binder. So you're going to have a binder. I know you guys, you have time to get your binder together, to buy a binder, but you need to have a binder. Then I said, let's divide the page into 1/3, and you can do just a wiggly line so you don't have to stress about having a straight line. And over here, and this is it's a little more than a third, but that's fine. Here you're going to write your notes. And here you're going to write your cue words. Either it's going to be cue words, important words, or it's going to be questions. Or you know what you might write on this side? You might write quiz on the 9th. And then, you know what I would do is I would highlight it. If I were you, I would get into a system where I am highlighting all my quizzes in red. All my exams are going to be highlighted in red. So when I'm flipping through my notebook, again, efficiency, right? Who wants to spend 2 hours studying biology? Why am I the only one that loves studying biology? No, you don't want to spend 2 hours studying biology every night, darling? I know you like it, but you have biology, English, social studies. You got math. You got, what do you got? Computer science or Latin. You got your mom on your back about washing the dishes or sweeping up the house or cleaning your room. You got to, does anybody do their own laundry? Yeah. Okay, so you got to wash your clothes. You got your hair. You don't do your own laundry? I know I did. My mom had me do all the, we kids did the housekeeping. But you have your hair to do. That takes time, doesn't it? Your makeup. Some people wear makeup. That takes time. My God, your time goes quickly, doesn't it? And let's not even talk about sleeping. Like, we got to sleep. Not to mention, you got to talk to your girlfriends and your boyfriends. You can't be not. They're texting you. You can't ignore them. Because you're going to come to school and be like, what? Why didn't you reply to me? I had an emergency last night. I broke a nail. Mom yelled at me. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Hey, breaking a nail is a big deal, man. I can't. If you ever break a nail, don't show me. It freaks me out. Have you ever seen Children of the Corn? When I was your age, a little younger than you, they just had VCRs. I know, I'm old. I was around before most of the stuff that you know. They just started VCRs, and my cousins got a VCR. They were the first in the family to get VCRs. We went over to their house. They had a VCR of a movie called Children of the Corn. Really scary. And in the movie, the kids came out of the corn. They're all pale and white, and they had black fingernails that grew real long, and it came at you like this. I went out of the room screaming, and to this day, anytime a nail is broken or it looked, because the nails were all black and messed up, anytime I see that, I freak out. Bad nails, clowns, and thunderstorms. I see a clown. Let me pause this. All right, moving on. So you highlight the quiz, but over here's, you don't do this. Remember, you're not doing this till after school, after class is over. So you can do that during lunch, or during study hall. Just highlight it. Over here is where you should have written quiz is going to be on pages 1 and 3. Dates. Let's just say final dates. And there were a lot of notes I talked about and wrote down on the board. I'll do it again in a minute. But you should have all that information there. And then you go back and you say highlight, well, this is what the stuff's on. So I better make sure that I know this for the quiz. So when I go back to study, right? I can efficiently go and say, okay, I need to know this by Friday. Let me focus on that. Because I only have half an hour to study biology, so let me just get this in my head so I get an A on the quiz. Right? Because what's the worst thing? One of the worst things I hate. One of the things I hate a lot of things, obviously. I have a lot of pet peeves. But one of the things I hate is studying the wrong thing for a test. I know every molecule. I know every atom in every biomolecule. And then the teacher asked me what the due date of my work is. I don't know. I didn't study that. Doesn't that feel bad? It feels bad to me. So anyways, that is what I mean by record. You record the stuff here. Here you're recording it. And then over here, so this is where you record your data, record the class, and then later you go ahead and you reduce. You reduce the information. Notice that there might have been, I think there was like a half a page of information on what the quiz is going to be on. I'm going to do it again in a minute. But over here, you just have like 5 words, and you're highlighting it. Why? So you can cover all this information up, and on this side, you can look at those keywords and know, do I know what's on the quiz? Oh, man, I don't. I got to get on it. And where do I look for it? Right here, right next to it. You see how efficient that is? That's very efficient. It works. This is studied. This is based on a Cornell note-taking method that they teach at Cornell University. They require this type of notes in medical school, law school. They teach it in colleges across the country. So this note system works. You may not like it. Again, one of the reasons people don't like it is because it's too much. It's more work. But more work means a better product. It means you're going to get an A. The other reason people don't like it is because they don't like not having enough space for the notes. They feel like this restricts them. Does that make sense? Do you feel that way? Anybody here feel that way? Okay. So there is a solution to that, the second part. The more work, it's good for you. So do it. So the solution is when you have a binder, and since you do have binders, because that's required in this class, you have a binder, you're going to have 2 pages, correct? You don't have 1 page, you have 2 pages. And the great thing about a binder is that any of the handouts, like the newsletter, any handouts like your vocabulary list that I gave you, those things can be put in the binder as well, rather than keeping them in a folder. And you can put them in order by date because everything has a date. So that works. So the cool thing about a binder is they have 2 pages. So if you really want more space, if you're adamant that you want more space, then what you could do, again, putting your name, the date, the period on every page. It doesn't have to be on every side of every page, but at least on every page. Over here, you can put the notes. Here you can do your record. And right across from it on the other side, you can put your keywords, your questions, what have you. And that solves your problem, doesn't it? Now you have a full page. Yes, it costs you more pages, but it does give you some space to work out some practice problems here on the right. So maybe over here we talk about a Punnett square, as a lot of you have already covered. And over here you do some practice problems on Punnett squares, or whatever you're going to do on this page. So it gives you some more space to add on. So the first thing you got to do is you have to get good at recording. You have to record. The second thing you have to do is then you have to reduce. You have to be able to take all the detailed information and reduce it to the most important parts. The things that are going to trigger your memory, so that, because we're trying to deal with a bad memory. All of us have a bad memory. There are people that are autistic and they have a really great memory. I saw a documentary where one kid was autistic, a high-functioning autistic individual who, if they looked at something one time, they can draw it in immense detail. Another kid that I saw in the documentary could look at, read something and remember it forever. Another kid, you could ask him what day was what day of the week was August 1st, 1939. And he could tell you the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, on that date. He could tell you the weather, when the sun rose, when it set, tell you everything. Another kid could play the piano. He could hear a song one time and then play it on the piano perfectly. But many of these kids dedicated all that brain space to memory. They couldn't tie their shoes. They didn't know how to button their shirts. They couldn't function very well in other aspects. Do you understand that? So, ladies, please. So, that was negative. I'm not supposed to give you negative. Let me just rephrase that. I'm not going to give you a warning because I didn't give you an explicit voice. I'm supposed to tell you that we're silent right now unless you're talking to me. But it would have been a warning, right? Does that make sense? That's going to be on the quiz tomorrow, so you need to know that. So if you're doing something that's wrong, and I give all these positive examples like I already have, and you're still doing that negative behavior, I got to give you a warning. Does that make sense? But there are incentives as well. Like all of you were here on time today. I'm giving you all of you 10 points, incentive points. And that goes in citizenship because you're here on time. Does that make sense? So there are incentive points for doing the right thing and then consequences for the negative thing. That's fair, right? All right. So we reduce. The next thing you got to do, and so you record, and then the next thing you do is you're going to review your notes. You review your notes, and then after you review, you can then reduce it because now you can say, okay, that was important. These dates are important. This is going to be on a quiz. So you record, you review it, then you reduce it. Then you go and you go on, and after you've gotten some feedback, you've gone over with some people, you're going to revise your notes. So what does that mean, revise? Revise means you're going to change whatever you need to change. So this young lady, I forgot your name already. What's your name, dear? Say it again. Dario, thank you. Darielle is going to revise her notes, right? She's going to add, I have a quiz tomorrow. And on the Q side, there'll be the quiz that we had, the date and the quiz, like you see here. And on the note side, she's going to record what the explanation of what the quiz is going to be on, because I'm going to do it right now again. All right? Even though I'm not going to do this in the future, I'm just going to do it now because you're learning, right? So we're going to do it now. So you're going to, after you reviewed it, you reduce it. And honestly, if you're going to review, the best thing you can do, now if you're not going to do it, that's fine. It's obviously I can't force you to work with someone else. But if you're going to review your notes, you should review it with a study group. You can't do your study group stuff in study hall because study hall's silent. But you can do it at lunch. Or you can do it, you guys get together over the phone. You can talk about the boys in the class. And then you can talk about the girls that bug you and the teachers that bug you. And while you're talking about all those people, then you can also maybe throw in some, hey, what did you catch from biology? What did you catch from English? I missed this. I went to the bathroom. Did I miss anything? That's like when you're in the movies. I know when you're watching a good movie at the theater and you have to go to the bathroom, you're with your friends, you go to the bathroom, you come back and say, what happened? I know you do that. But you guys go to the bathroom in class and you come back like nothing happened. Like you missed stuff. You got to catch up. All right, so you record it. So your number one thing is you record it. Number two is you review it. Number three, you're going to reduce it. Number four, you're going to revise it. You're going to go ahead and change it. Maybe you come to tutoring and you find out you wrote something incorrectly. So you want to revise it. Now, I had a friend a colleague in undergraduate in my college years who would write everything in shorthand. Do you know what shorthand is? Like you guys do text talk, LOL, OMG, that kind of stuff. Okay, whatever. Did I do enough sass? Should I practice that? Well, I actually spell out the words, even though it's probably improperly spelled, but because I can't spell. But anyways, LOL, whatever it is, you guys have, that's called the shorthand. Whatever your shorthand is. You can use shorthand in your notes. Instead of saying increase, you can put an up arrow. Instead of decrease, you can put a down arrow. Instead of saying bigger, you can put greater than. Instead of putting smaller, you can put less than. Like, the little symbol. You can use symbols instead of the whole word. It'll save you time when you're writing. You guys are going to be in college. Next year, some of you will be in college. Some of you will be in college. It won't go to college until you graduate high school, but still that's 3 years from now. And in 3 years, you're going to be in college, and they're going to go fast. And they're not going to stop to teach you how to take notes. They're going to expect you to go to a tutor on your own. They're going to expect that you can write down what they say and write it down efficiently. So practice it. So record, review, reduce, and revise. The next thing, after you revise your notes and you're sure you got it as good as you're going to get it, the fifth thing you want to do is you want to start to recite. What does recite mean? What does recite mean? Anybody know the word recite? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, to do it over and over again. That means practice it. You practice it over and over and over again as many times as it takes you to know your content. It could be index cards. It can be flashcards on your phone at home. It could be during lunch, quizzing each other. Whatever you do to recite. Once you think you got it all in your head and you know what the big deal is and you got everything set, then now you see these are the steps of true studying. If you do this, you go from, now this is scientifically been studied, okay? This has been studied by people who have PhDs, who are doctors. And what they've said is if you don't write anything down, you're going to remember about 20% in a week. In a week, you remember about 20% of what you learned, if you learned it. That's not even counting the stuff you missed because you were talking to someone else or you were in the bathroom or whatever. So 20% of what you heard, you're going to remember. So that means you failed the test. That's the best you're going to be able to do is about 20%. If you just write it down, you can go up to maybe like 40% by writing it down. Now you're remembering about 40%. But still, that's still an F. Still doesn't feel good. If you write it down and review it, which is what most kids think of as studying, now you're up to 60%. And we're talking about complicated stuff, right? Not like simple things. Simple things you don't need to work as hard, correct? But this year you're going to be covering a lot of complicated ideas in the rest of your life. You're going to be dealing with complicated ideas. So you have to have a process. Can't just expect that you're going to write it down, review it, and know it. It's not always the case. So just by writing it down and then reviewing it, you can get up to 60%. Up to. That doesn't guarantee you a D. That's a D, right? 60% is a D. That doesn't guarantee you a D. Does not. Actually, it's not a D anymore. It's still an F at your grading scale, because I think you have to get up to like, I have to look, they told us we have to do like 63 or 65 or something like that to get a D. So that would still be an F after you review. Well, that sucks. So I wrote it. So this is where you and your parents get upset, right? You go to your mom and say, Mom, I listened in class. I wrote it down. I studied, because what did you mean by study? You reviewed it. You went over it. You sat down in the test and you failed the test. Or you say, Mom, he didn't tell us there was a quiz. I didn't know there was a quiz. Right? I know that you didn't say this. I'm not picking on you. But that's what happens, because you didn't process it, right? You didn't even, and it's not your fault. You didn't hear it. Your brain didn't process it. So it didn't exist, right? If it doesn't exist, you didn't know. So you walk into the quiz and boom, you're surprised. So even if you review it, the most likely, the best, unless you get lucky, is 60%. Well, still not great. So then you reduce, you revise, you do the rest of the 6 R's. I call it the 6 R's, and we'll go over the 6 R's, what the 6 R's are later. I just want to emphasize that doing this is what's going to get you a good grade on the test. You're going to review, you do the reducing, you do the reducing, you do the reciting, and then all of a sudden, once you're done with all the R's, you're done. On average, obviously it's no guarantee. It's never a guarantee in, I don't know why this is. All right, it's never a guarantee on a test, because you can have a bad day or a good day. No guarantee. But on average, you're gonna get into the 90s to 100%. And that's your goal, isn't it? Your goal is to be in the 90s and 100%. And maybe you're in the 80s. Well, okay. So I get a B instead of an A. I can live with that. I don't want to live with a D or an F. That's what my view is. And I know that a lot of the frustration that kids have in high school comes from not being able to record the information, first not listening. And when I mean listening, I don't mean you heard it. I know you can hear it. I can hear you. But did you process it? And processing means working it out. What does that mean? I tell you that water's a polar molecule. Okay. You can hear that, right? You heard me say it. Do you know what that means? What does it mean that water's a polar molecule? You don't know, do you? You're not supposed to know. Nobody's ever told you that. I don't think. Has anyone ever told you that? No. So water's a polar molecule, one of the things you have to know. But then hearing that is one thing, right? But then processing, what does that mean? And then how do you test that? How are you going to test me that I understand what that means? That's another story. That's where these 6 steps come into play. You have to do the 6 R's, and you may do it in different ways. You might recite with index cards. You might recite with friends. You might recite it over. There's a teacher that you'll have in the future here at this school that I went to master's school with, and she would copy her notes over 20 times. That's how she recited. That's doing too much for me. I couldn't handle that. I did flashcards. I processed using the other 6 R's, and it worked for me. Whatever works, right? If your process works, then we won't have a conversation. But if I'm having a conversation with you on why you don't understand, or why is it that you don't understand English or social studies or math or biology, It's not because you're dumb. There's no one in here who's not smart. You're all smart. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it, and I'll give you evidence if you want. You're all smart. You all can do it. It's not about can. It's how do you get there. And you all have different strengths and weaknesses. But you have to be able to deal with your weaknesses. You have to develop them. If you and I were hanging out and I was going to start to run, I wanted to go running with you, I got a lot of work to do, don't I? Correct? I can't get you running nowhere right now. I'll hobble around, but I'm going to need to do a lot of work to get to the point where I can go running with you. So if you're going to sit down and we're going to read some biology text and process it, you have a lot of work to do to catch up to me, right? So we all have different strengths and weaknesses, but I can guarantee you some of you are probably a lot smarter than me. You're surely as smart as anyone else. There are very few geniuses in the world, and there are very few learning disabled people in the world. And learning disabled people, they get the help. They're able to. Many of them are able to do as well as anyone else, but they have to work a little harder in different deficiency in places where maybe they have problems reading, or maybe they confuse numbers. My nephew, for instance, is dyslexic. He reverses letters, and he's learned to deal with that. I have another nephew who's autistic, and he's very low functioning, but he's working on being able to take care of himself. His parents are hopeful that he'll be able to get to the point where he can take care of himself to some level. So there are people that are what we call that are outside the average. But most people in here are average, right? And maybe you have a learning disability, maybe you don't, but that doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. Einstein, for instance, do you know who Einstein is? All right, he had a learning disability, but he compensated for it. He worked on his weaknesses, and he was able to do very well, obviously. So you can do well even if you have deficiencies. You just got to identify what they are and compensate for them. Does that make sense to you? How many you've seen runners run without a leg? You've seen three-legged dogs run? Well, they do. Three-legged dogs can run. You've seen blind people read? Right? You know blind people can read? They have Braille. Right? Deaf people can hear music with their hands. They touch the music box and feel the music. You know, you can feel the music. They feel the music. They can't hear it like you and I do, but they can feel the music. So people can compensate. And those are obviously extremes, correct? I had a student who was blind, and she took AP Biology and took one of the toughest tests, and she got a 3. She couldn't see, but she took biology and got a 3. You can compensate for deficiencies. No one in here is blind. Very few people in here are severely autistic, if no one in here is that way. So there's no reason why you can't be getting an A in this class. There's absolutely no reason. All right. That being said, let's talk about tomorrow's quiz. And the quiz is a simple quiz. So what I would do is I would have my paper. I would have my division. I'd have my name, my date. And today's date is the 8th, August 8th. Can't believe it's the 8th. Can you believe it's the 8th? It's crazy. And I would have the period, first period. One of the things I would definitely have in my recording section is that it's sections 1 or pages 1 and 3. Of the newsletter. Are on the quiz. I would definitely have that the due dates, the final due dates, the deadlines for biology are on the quiz. Not the district deadlines. Remember, I told you two things. Go back and review the notes. I told you there's dates that the district has given us, right? There were 3 dates. I need like a few days to make sure all the grading's done before those dates are come. So I have to call a deadline before that date. So if you look at the newsletter, I don't have a copy in front of me. You should have it in your binder. You look at the newsletter. What's the first deadline? August 26th. So the first one's August 26th. What's the second one? What is it? September 17th. And the third one? October 11th. You can expect a multiple choice question. It's obviously going to give you various dates. You have to be able to identify those 3 dates. You have to know what the grading categories are. What are the grading categories? What are the grade categories? Say it. Assessments, which is what percentage of your grade? 36.36. Let me not put ASS on there. What else is there? Classwork, which is what? 18.8. What else is there? There's 5 of them. So grading categories you got to know. There's 1, 2. What else is there? It's in your newsletter. Projects and labs. And projects and labs, 18.8. Homework is how much? 9.09. And the 5th one is what? Citizenship. Which is how much? 18.8. So citizenship is, again, what does it mean to be a good citizen? Be on time, participate, follow the rules, work well in groups. So when you're doing group work, I see you doing your job, you get point. So today, for instance, you have 10 points. As an example, you all have gotten 10 points for being on time and being prepared, right? That's it. Citizenship's an easy A on this. That's 18.8% of your grade. So I'm going to give you an example, several examples on the quiz, and you're going to have to decide where does that fit in the grading category. Yeah, it is time to go. I was going to call time. And the other thing you have to know is your discipline, the consequences on page 3. So make sure you know those consequences, the steps. You know, warning 2, etc. All right, have a good one, guys. Thank you.